In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a structured sales process in HubSpot that also helps you to build or create predictable revenue growth and create a process that your sales team actually will follow. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how you can build this process inside of HubSpot and align your sales process with how buyers make decisions. Suppose you're a CEO, you're a sales leader, you're tired of missed forecasts, you're tired of deals going cold. One common root cause is that the salespeople are not following the sales process. They're skipping steps, leading to unreliable reporting and declining closing rates. So let's take the buyer's journey and the important milestones that the buyer has to go through to buy a product or solution like yours. And then let's make that into a clear, repeatable sales process inside of HubSpot. The foundation of any effective sales process is understanding how your buyers make decisions. So the first step will be to gather your team, ideally someone who's both in marketing and sales. And then you need to find out how do they first identify that they have a problem? What's the business issue that they have? And what steps do they take to research and find a solution? Also, who needs to be involved in the solution and what type of approvals do they need? Are they the decision maker or are there other people who are less involved in the buying decision that needs to make the final approval? So let's say you are selling software to maritime companies, and in that case, your buyer or buyers might need to, or they will notice internal inefficiencies, research solutions, they'll attend the webinars, events, conduct a technical validation call, and then they need to get executive buy-in, for example. And once you understand this journey, then you can translate these milestones into clear and observable deal stages inside of HubSpot. Here is a critical point a lot of companies miss. Not every internal task deserves its own deal stage. So if you're creating a contract or scheduling a demo, these are tasks, not milestones. So if you're designing your sales process inside of HubSpot, I would use the task feature combined with the deal stages so you're not cluttering up your deal pipeline. So inside of HubSpot, when you're configuring your deal pipeline, I would make the deal stages, which we're going to cover in just a minute. But then you can also automate the creation of internal tasks. So let's say you have a discovery meeting. So when the deal is in the discovery meeting column, then you could create a task that says schedule solution presentation, for example. And in this way, less clutter, and your sales team will get assigned tasks automatically related to that specific deal. So in my opinion, the deal stages should reflect meaningful progress from the buyer's perspective, like completing a discovery call, presenting a solution, or reaching a verbal agreement. So let's say you have done some work with your team and you looked at the buyer's journey in the first row here. Looking at this template here, you can see on the first row, you have a buyer's journey that describes the steps that the buyer goes through: business issue, evaluate options, internal approval and select vendor, finalizing budget, internal process, and then close won or closed lost. The buyer's journey gives us insight into how our buyers think and make decisions, and your pipeline should reflect the actions your sales team takes to move deals forward. The pipeline is meant to capture meaningful progress at a high level, like when a discovery call happens, maybe you're doing a negotiation, you're doing a solution presentation, you're doing a technical validation call, and then you're going to translate these buyer's journey steps into names for the deal stages. So let's just take this as an example. The buyer has a business issue, and that translates into a discovery call in your pipeline. And then evaluate the options. That's doing a solution presentation or a demo. And then you might have a follow-up. And then there's an internal approval. And they've talked to different vendors and they're selecting who they want to progress with. Then you have a finalizing budget, which translates into a negotiation deal stage. Then you have an internal process where you have sent out the proposal and it's pending signature. And then this will be either a close won or a close lost. Now, let's implement these deal stages inside of HubSpot. So when implementing a deal pipeline inside of HubSpot, you go to Settings, then you go to Objects and Deals. And now you can go into your Pipelines tab, and then you can select the different pipelines you have if you have multiple pipelines. I've already entered the pipeline stage names or deal stage names already. And what you can do now is to assign probability. So let's say we have a 100,000 euro deal at this first stage, 20%, that would be a 20K deal. Then we would like to adjust the weighting, maybe to, let's say, something lower than this. Let's do 30. Then it's go or no-go stage. And then based on previous data, maybe you know that of 100 proposals you sent out, you have maybe a 50% chance of winning it when you have sent it out. And then when they have maybe given a verbal agreement, they said yes in an email or on a phone call, it's an 80%. And in this way, you're able to forecast more accurately using these deal stages. Now that we have the buyer's journey and translated them into deal stages, now we can do even more to align with the buyer's journey. So for each stage, we need to set clear exit criteria, so specific conditions that must be met before moving a deal forward. And this prevents premature stage advancement that can skew your forecasts. So for example, if we're looking at the discovery call stage, you might require that all decision makers are on the call. You might need that the buyer has confirmed their timeline and budget range. So you're following the BANT, Budget Authority Need and Timeline qualification framework. And then you have the next steps that are agreed upon and scheduled. And now you can start seeing what kind of sales activities and this sales content each step requires based on the buyer's journey. So maybe in the discovery call, you have quite basic needs. You need to have discovery questions. So you have good questions to ask the prospect to gather insight and make the best possible solution for them. We have identified the buyer's journey. We have translated those buyer journey steps into deal stages in our pipeline. And now we can go even further to really align the actions we take, the content we send to our prospects based on each deal stage. So let's just go through each of the different deal stages and what's happening, what tasks, what activities, what content needs to be implemented for each deal stage. So let's say in the discovery call, then the sales activity will be to do a discovery call. Maybe you're doing a 60-minute, 90-minute discovery call, and you have sales content in the form of discovery questions. You have a playbook or you have a Google Doc with some relevant questions to understand the problems and the needs of the prospect. To have someone enter into this discovery call deal stage, you will need to have qualified them maybe through something like BANT, Budget Authority Need and Timeline, to move that prospect forward. And then solution presented, maybe you have given the first pitch, you have scheduled the follow-up, you have given a demo, and you have some pitch decks or technical spec sheets that you're sending to the prospect after you have done the discovery call. And then again, to move that prospect forward, you have some mandatory entry requirements, like it could be a technical fit, it could be a demo has been or have been scheduled until you move them to the next stage, which could be create ROI modeling, you're creating the initial proposal. Maybe you have some kind of calculation on how your solution will help them reduce fuel costs. Some other requirements might be that you need to involve the budget owner, CFO, for example, and you have some kind of pilot agreed together with the prospect. And then going into negotiation, you're discussing price, maybe you're looking at discounts and approvals, and you're sending out references and case studies to the prospect. So the next step is to share the proposal and then wait for the pending signature. So you sent the final proposal, you requested the billing contact, and the contract draft is sent. So all of these are pieces of content or task or required properties inside of HubSpot. So let's say we want to ensure that when somebody moves a deal from discovery call to solution presented, we want to make sure that we have put in an amount for that specific deal. So in the pipeline configuration and under the conditional stage properties, you can go here and click on edit properties. Under dependent properties, you can add dependent property here. Click amount in this case, and then you can decide if you want it to be required or not. So either the information is already filled out and you won't see it, but if it's not filled out and you want it to be required, then you can just click required. So let's take this deal and I want to move it from stage 1 to stage 2. Then ask me to fill out the amount. Let's say we also have some deals that are getting won or lost. So let's say I'm going to move it to the close won phase. Then it will ask me what's the reason we won or what's the reason we lost if the deal was lost, and you put it in the closed lost column. Thanks for watching. If you want to transform your sales process using this template, please feel free to download the template in the description below. I hope you found the video helpful. Thanks for watching and see you next time.